The twin suns of Teleris. 9 burned low on the horizon, spilling red light over the fractured desert. Captain Eli Vance stood alone beside a mound of pale sand and polished glass fragments, the closest thing this world had to a grave. The desert wind keened through the crystalline spires, like 1,000 ghostly flutes. He crouched, fingers trembling as he placed the object down. A small bronze pendant shaped like a spiral. Human-made. It was the last thing she'd ever held. "Goodbye, Arel," he whispered. "You deserved better than this." The pendant gleamed once, catching the dying light, then went still. Eli stayed kneeling, long after the sun set and the cold of night began creeping across the dunes. His breath fogged inside his cracked helmet. The suit's internal chrono blinked silently. Mission Day 473. Nearly a year and a half since Odyssey's wake had crashed, marooning him and 21 others. Now there was only one. Arel had been the last to die. Not that she'd been human, not entirely. One. The beginning of the end. When the Odyssey's wake first entered Teleris orbit, it wasn't supposed to land. The planet was a dead catalog entry. Barren, irradiated, uninhabited. But the anomaly changed everything. A vast, hexagonal signal array buried beneath the planet's crust pulsed with energy readings unlike anything human science had recorded. It sent out structured bursts, math, music, code. Then came an image. A humanoid silhouette with elongated limbs and eyes like pools of starlight. The Research Council called it a REL pattern. The ship's AI called it contact. The crew called it madness. Eli had been the science officer then, 37 years old, sharp and skeptical. "No such thing as ghosts in the static," he'd told Commander Drayskin. "It's just an echo." But the echo had a voice. Guided them down. When the ship tore through the atmosphere, half its hull ablaze, Eli had been one of the lucky ones to crawl from the wreckage. The survivors made camp near the crash site. They salvaged food packs, filtration systems, what remained of the comms relay. Then on the third night they found her. Rel. To the alien woman. She wasn't like the scans from orbit. She wasn't a projected image or an AI manifestation. She was alive. Flesh and breath, though not quite human. Her skin shimmered faintly, bioluminescent in the dark, marked with fractal lines that pulsed softly when she spoke. And she did speak, in broken words, half English, half something else. "I waited. Long time. For you." The others didn't trust her. Drayskin ordered her quarantined. But when Arel healed a wounded engineer with a touch and a strange harmonic hum that made the air vibrate, fear turned to awe. Eli was the first to listen. He spent nights talking with her, deciphering fragments of her language. She told him she was a caretaker of the buried choir, an ancient network of consciousness that lived beneath the crust, a race that had once spanned stars but had chosen to retreat inward, merging with their own technology. "Your kind burns bright," she told him once, tracing a glowing line across his palm. "Too bright. You forget to remember." He didn't understand then. Later he would. 3. The last survivors. Over the months the crew dwindled. The storms on Teleris were razor storms, silicon shards riding on magnetic tempests that sliced through metal. The food stores ran low. The emergency comms tower failed. And no signal ever came back from Earth. Some blamed Arel. They said she was draining power from their systems. They said the whispers at night, the voices calling through the static, were her doing. Eli defended her. "She's trying to help," he argued. "The choir beneath the surface might hold a way off this planet." But Drayskin had stopped listening. One night, under the violet auroras, the commander ordered Arel bound. When Eli protested, Dreskin's hand went to his pistol. The standoff ended when the desert itself erupted, a tremor that split the ground and swallowed 2 men whole. Arel broke free amid the chaos. She touched Dreskin's chest, whispered a single tone, and his body went still. When she let go, he was dead, not wounded, not burned, just gone. Eli wanted to hate her for it. But she looked at him with such sorrow that he couldn't. I ended him. So he not end me, she said softly. The rest of the crew scattered into the wastes. None returned. Only Arel and Eli remained. For the buried choir. They wandered for months, guided by Arel's visions. She said the choir slept beneath the vein of mirrors, a canyon lined with glassy stone that reflected the stars even at noon. There, beneath the surface, Arel claimed the choir could awaken the echo core, a construct capable of transmitting life patterns across the void. You can go home, she told him. Body may stay, but you can cross. Eli didn't believe in souls. He believed in matter, physics, conservation of energy. But after a year on Teleris 9, watching Arel shape light into warmth, or sing a wound shut, disbelief seemed small and tired. When they reached the canyon, the air hummed with resonance. Beneath their feet, the sand was warm. The surface rippled like liquid glass. Arel knelt, pressing her glowing palms to the ground. It remembers, she whispered. But it is broken. I can fix. She worked for days, channeling energies Eli couldn't measure. He tried to help, rigging a power converter from the Rex reactor core. When he connected it, the earth lit up, thousands of radiant veins branching outward like circuitry. Then the choir spoke. Not in words, in emotion. He felt them, billions of minds, ancient and mournful, like an ocean of memory lapping at the shore of his thoughts. Arel screamed. Her body arched, light spilling from her eyes and mouth. Eli grabbed her, shouting her name, but the glow consumed her. When it faded, she was gone. Only the faint hum of the choir remained. 5. The grave that had been 3 weeks ago. Eli buried what was left, a handful of crystalline ash that shimmered in the dark, and marked the spot with a piece of the ship's hull. Now, as he stood over it, he whispered her name again. I'm sorry, he said. I shouldn't have connected the core. I didn't know it would. The ground beneath him thrummed. He froze. A whisper echoed through the helmet speaker. Not static. Not his imagination. Eli. He spun around. The desert was empty. The stars above glimmered, cold and distant. Then something brushed his shoulder. Hand. He turned and saw her. Arel stood behind him, translucent, her edges shimmering like heat haze. Her eyes were brighter than before, twin orbs of starlight. Not gone, she said. Changed. Eli's throat closed. You're part of the choir now. She nodded slowly. The choir remembers you. It wants to thank you. For what? For helping it wake. She reached out, touching his chest. His suit monitor spiked, alarms flaring. Wait, Arel, stop. Her voice was calm, melodic. You can come. If you choose. He felt warmth spreading through him. Not physical but deeper, as if his thoughts were unraveling, dissolving into light. He saw fragments of memory flashing through her eyes. The crew, the crash, Earth, the night skies of home. He wanted to let go. But then he saw the pendant on the grave. The spiral. Someone has to remember, he whispered. Someone has to tell them. Her expression softened. Then remember. Tell them what you saw. Tell them we were here. The light faded. The warmth withdrew. When his vision cleared, she was gone again. The desert was silent. But beneath the sand, the faint hum of the choir pulsed like a heartbeat. 6. The return. It took Eli another month to repair the emergency beacon. He scavenged from the wreck, used the choir's energy fields to boost the signal. Every night, he sat beside the grave talking aloud. Stories of earth, of oceans and music and rain. The desert listened. Sometimes the glass would tremble softly as though answering. Then on mission day 511 the beacon pinged. Reply. Human. The rescue ship Horizon Ark dropped into orbit 3 days later. When they found him, he looked half-starved but lucid. The medtechs asked him how he'd survived so long. He just smiled faintly. I had help. When they examined the crash site, the canyon was gone. In its place stretched a smooth plain of glass, perfectly flat, humming with faint residual power. The scanners picked up harmonic frequencies buried deep below, repeating a single pattern. A word. Eli. 7. The message back on the Horizon Ark. Eli wrote his report. He described the anomaly, the choir, and a rel. Command dismissed most of it as trauma-induced hallucination, a coping mechanism after extended isolation. But they couldn't explain the data core he'd recovered, a crystalline drive encoded in non-human mathematics, storing petabytes of structured light patterns. He told them it was her gift. He spent months decoding it. Inside were memories. Images of alien worlds, songs that form geometric constellations. Histories spanning millions of years. The choir had recorded their entire existence, waiting for someone to find them. When Eli presented it to the council, he said one thing. They weren't gods. They weren't ghosts. They were people who learned how not to die. 8. The hand that shouldn't exist. Years passed. Eli retired to Luna Station, far from the noise of politics. The data from Teleris became one of humanity's great mysteries. Some said the choir's technology inspired the first mind transfer prototypes. Others whispered that it never existed at all. Eli never argued. He spent his days tending a small garden dome overlooking the Mare Tranquillitatis. On the anniversary of Arel's death, he brought out the bronze pendant. It had never corroded. The spiral gleamed in the pale lunar light. He knelt by the planter where he'd buried a handful of Teleris sand he'd smuggled home. His promise to her. Goodbye again, he whispered. If you can still hear me. The air was still. No hum, no glow. Then as he turned to leave, something brushed his hand. Soft, cool, familiar. He froze. A gentle pressure lingered on his fingers, and faintly, just faintly, he heard her voice. Still here. He looked down. The sand shimmered faintly, forming a perfect spiral that pulsed once, and was gone. Eli smiled through tears. Yeah, he murmured. Me too. Above him, Earth rose on the horizon, blue, bright, impossibly alive. And beneath the sands of a forgotten world, the choir sang on, carrying her memory through the stars.